come up. We should see it into. Okay, you're all on. Okay, we're ready to go, Jordan. Let's do it.
All right, coming up to showtime, sending you that feed. Have a great show.
Thank you very much. We will. I'm picking on you, Steve. Behave yourself. Don't cut off your beard. You're still a little bit close.
Yesterday's future, which is already here, ready here. Meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Bonnie D. in the house. Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me. This is Technology Revolution, the future of now. I have to learn how to do that echo. I have invited back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count them. I'm counting them. 5 very savvy HR professionals. They come from different branches, different areas of the industry. They all know a lot. And we had them on in August, which is a little less than 3 months ago. The topic was so hot for everybody around the world, I decided to invite them back. And they very graciously, I pushed them a little bit, they accepted the invitation. So our topic is the future of HR plus AI. And I said the plus sign on purpose. Get a job, keep a job. Is your CEO going to be a bot someday? Maybe they already are, like one company in Japan. Let me open by reading my opening poem. And panelists, I want you to know I tweaked the poem from the time when you were on in August. So it's not exactly the same. So I want you to pay attention. That's how much I love all of you. I want it to be fresh. So here we go. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the Future of Now show with host Bonnie D and her Scarlett mic and the live streaming glow. Sherry, am I glowing? I hope not. I try not to. The future of HR plus AI is our spotlight today. Welcome, savvy HR futurists. They have a lot to say. Will you soon be interviewed by a well-spoken bot? Will R2D2 review your resume? We sure hope not. I wrote this part. Is AI disrupting both candidates and staff? Will we say thank you or sit back, cry, or laugh? Now let's meet my panelists, 5 eager and clear, and the future they'll predict for us starting right here. Here we go. Sherry, you're Sherry Ann today. Sherry Ann Meyer leads with a humanistic touch spanning 27 countries. Everybody was so surprised last time. Simplifying tech so much. She crafts solutions that all can pursue. Her goal, empowering the workforce anew. I hope you like that, Sherry. I'm still going to call you Sherry.
Honor.
Bob Ficken is back. Decades in academia, AI is his art, guiding businesses to lead from the very start, helping owners innovate, showing them the way as HR transforms in our digital age today. Bob, do we pass the test? Is that good? Oh, thumbs up. Great. Dr. Gabby Burlacu with wise eyes researches cultures as new talent roles arise. Her insights help shape HR's evolving role, guiding tomorrow's inclusivity goal. Did I get that right, Gabby?
Amazing.
Oh, amazing. I'll take it. Dr. Steve Hunt is with us, a pillar where tech and psychology meet, building HR's future insightful and neat. Steve, are you neat? With a legacy in tech, he envisions what's new, a roadmap as HR's evolution is due. There we go. Steve, we good? Oh,
I feel like was that written by Dr. Seuss?
No, that was written by me. Chiara Bersano is with us. Bersano, adaptable and bright, an HR tech visionary. She is shining that light. Swiss Army knife skills on the cutting edge too, making HR more data-driven. Long overdue. Right, Chiara? I think so. She likes it. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In this promising world of technology's new scope, the upcoming workforce is seeking fresh hope. Stay tuned, watch, and listen as Bonnie D. Me explores how HR plus AI may open new doors for scores. What do we think? That wasn't four score. That was FOR score.
I said it sounded like Dr. Seuss. Like Dr. Seuss, like, oh, the places you'll go with AI.
I know. Well, I got to tell you, I am in such good terms. Sherry, one second. I'm in such good terms with my chat GPT that I asked her if I could call her a her and if I could name her Sylvia and call her my virtual assistant. And she said, Bonnie D, yes, you may. So I'm on good terms. Sherry, what were you going to say? Go ahead.
I was going to say that is an excellent idea. Though the places you'll go with AI.
There you go.
I love
Well,
that. Yep.
we might need to do another show on that. There you go. We'll be coming back in 2025. Don't worry about it. Let's do some fill-ins around the table. No, not at the dentist, not fillings. Fill-ins. Why don't you bring us up to date what you've been up to since August? What was it? August 28th, I think was the date. August 28th. Yeah. What have you been up to? Anything new, Sherry? Talk a little bit about Lisbon, please. Okay, Sherry, I'm putting you on speaker view, and then we'll do the quotes, and then we'll get to the predictions. Sherry, welcome back.
Thank you. Well, since August, like a lot of people, I've changed jobs. Currently in a career change, which makes the AI and job topic very, very interesting and personal to me, and I'm experiencing it. But I'm still the person who's trying to humanize technology with better communications. And you asked about Lisbon. I was in Lisbon, Portugal with Chiara, actually, for Success Connect 2024. SAP's annual conference, and the country was just beautiful. Chiara and I stayed at an Airbnb in the old town for the first few days, and then we went on to the conference for the end of it. But just a beautiful country, very affordable. People were lovely. It was so great to be out of Las Vegas. And of course, when it comes to the conference, a lot of the talk was about AI, but interesting, a lot of talk this year also shifted back towards having a strong core HR and payroll. And then skills and learning was another very hot topic. But, you can't really do a good job with skills and learning if you don't have a strong core.
There you go. Back to the core. Thank you very much, Sherry. I'm glad you enjoyed your trip. And I learned that I'm supposed to say Ms. Bersano's name is Chiara. So I hope that's the correct pronunciation. And I apologize. Let's go one more spot around the table. And next we got here Bob Ficken. Bob, how have you been? Give me an update, please.
I've been doing great. Since August, I've been doing my music enjoyment tour. I went and saw Santana and Counting Crows in Mountain View. I went into Vegas, Sherry, and saw the Eagles at the Sphere. And if you've never been to the Sphere, you got to go at least once. Incredible venue. And then a couple weeks ago, I went and saw ZZ Top at the Bob Hope Theater in Stockton.
Bob gets around.
Professionally, I've become an advisor to several college AI programs around the country. Looking forward to having that input. So.
Bob, that's exciting. My kids went to the opening of the Sphere in Vegas. I think it was a U2 concert. And my son got tickets and treated his older daughter and my daughter to going to the Sphere at I think it was the second night of the debut, the opening of the Sphere. And they said it was an incredible experience, just multi everything. There was so much going on. And I said, I probably would have just been dizzy and closed my eyes, but
apparently when they built 160,000 speakers into it.
Yep. And screens all over the place, right? And things.
It's like a 360 experience.
Yep. It's like you're inside of a Quest and you're in VR, but you're live and you're living it. Thank you, Bob. Glad you're back safe and sound from the Sphere. Gabby, what's new with you? Tell us.
Well, not the Sphere, but that is on my bucket list officially. So that sounds amazing. So professionally, since we last met, the Upwork Research Institute released a research report called Work Innovators. And what was really cool this time around is that we launched it with a conversational AI tool. So one of the things that happens when you release research is you just kind of release a 40-page PDF, right? And business leaders are meant to read it. This time around, we did it a little bit more dynamically, a little bit more conversationally, and it's so cool. And we are learning a ton. So talk about using, AI in new ways where it hasn't really been used before.
That's exciting. Can you give us an example, Gabby, of what you're doing with it?
Well, sure. So instead of routing people to the full report, which does exist, we route them to a landing page where there is a conversational AI tool that they can ask questions about. They can ask about methodology with the research, but they can also ask things like, I'm meeting my senior leadership in 1 hour. What are the top 3 takeaways from this research that I can take them? And so we've been playing around with kind of teaching and training the tool, and it's really, really cool. And we're just learning a ton from how people engage with it, what follow-up questions they ask. And if you want a crash course in how these AI tools work, working side by side with an organization that kind of sets this up for you is amazing. interesting and kind of seeing all of the behind the scenes that goes into this. So really, really cool there. Personally, I have just returned maybe about 8 hours ago from Mexico. So if it seems like I'm mentally holding a margarita on the beach, I may be. So be advised.
We will imagine that. So what you're saying about this conversational AI preparing for a meeting is it's just like the Cliff Notes, right? This is what you
Sure.
Yeah.
But a little bit more conversational in the way that we're used
Mhm.
to, asking for information. We call it our work innovator research assistant, and it really is like your
Mhm.
research.
You need to give it or a name. We need
Yes.
to have a
What do we have to do to get a copy of that?
yeah.
I will provide the link. I would love for you guys
We
to try
would love
this.
that. Gabby, would you be willing to come back in 2025 and bring some of your colleagues from the report and talk about it? I'd love to do a show on it. Okay, I'm booking for last week in January. Okay, so I'll be in touch with you. Great, wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay,
And
let's move.
that is the ideal, not just to use AI, but to learn from AI.
Yeah,
That's
and
wonderful.
also I think this may sound a little odd to all of you, but to have a relationship with AI where you're comfortable with it, not be afraid and not be overwhelmed and not rely on it too much, but have a relationship that fits into what you need. Maybe I'm saying something extraordinary here, but that's the way I feel about it is how do you use it? And somebody recently told me you can ask, for example, Claude or ChatGPT, what do you know about me? What are my worst traits or what are my best traits? How can you summarize who I am? And then somebody else said, ask it to roast you. Ask it to roast you.
Wow.
Oh, Chiara, I did that. And she came back, Sylvia, my assistant, my judge, she came back and she said, you're so into poetry, Bonnie D, with opening all your poems with verses, your shows with verses for your monologues. You're probably going to ask Alexa to put your grocery shopping list into poetic format. Ha ha. And that's what that was the worst the roast got. There wasn't much more to say about me. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. We just lost Chiara. Okay. And Sherry, we're loving the
I need
kids
to sneeze. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Sherry, we're loving the kids programming on the TV screen behind you in your living room. It's adorable.
I should probably blur
no,
that.
no, do not.
Oh,
We
now,
love
now you're going to get the kids programming right here.
Oh my
there's
God.
there's a baby we need a name. We need a cameo. Who's the baby?
Luca.
Hello,
This is
Luke.
my newest grandson.
How old?
Hi. He's now, I think, 2.5 months.
Well, he's on Technology Revolution, the future of now. You have to tell him when he grows up that
future.
That is the future. You brought the future here.
he is. Oh, he's gorgeous. Thank you, Sherry. Luke. Oh my goodness. Okay, be still my heart. We got to continue the show. Steve Hunt, you're up next. Steve, bring us up to date. What's new with you?
So professionally, I've been doing a lot of advising with companies, attended several HR technology conferences. I did not go to Success Connect for the first time in like 15 years. And actually, I have to be honest, I learned a new phrase called, FOMO, fear of missing out. There's JOMO, joy of missing out. After 15 years of Success Connect, I was like, I joke, it's like going to a high school reunion every year. I'm like, okay, I'm all right. But
this one was a little different, only because there were different people, different attendees.
Yeah, well, we used to do it in Europe. They used to do it in Australia. I have been to they used to do whatever. It was, but what I did, on the flip side, I did go to Portugal and Spain entirely just to go bike riding through the Douro Valley, going through Galicia and see my grandniece, Olivia. So that was very fun. And on the work, I think it's just fascinating because a lot of what I'm doing now is focusing. I'm on doing some fractional research advisory roles. I'm advisor for several tech companies. I've probably spoken to over 50 tech companies in the last 3 months about all manner. Of course, AI comes up all the time, and it's led to some really fascinating conversations. And I'm also recording the next season of Integrator Die, which is a podcast series where we interview people that build HR technology and implement HR technology about technology. And again, of course, AI comes up a lot there. So lots of stuff to talk about on this topic, Bonnie. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Would you be willing to bring 4 or 3 or 5 of the companies you're advising on next year to talk about their AI HR journey?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love that. I want to broaden the scope of the people who talk about this topic on my show. I'm big fans of the five of you, but I'd like you to be my conduits to bringing in more people
Yeah.
to have this discussion. So I'll be talking to Gabby and Steve about that, and everybody else. Chiara, welcome back. We want to know what you've been up to besides the Lisbon trip with Sherry Ann. Go ahead, Chiara.
Well, okay, I'm not going to talk to Lisbon, which was wonderful. Um, well, I'm in the process of almost leaving my company, so changing jobs. I'm not really sure, and I'm soul searching, which is a fantastic occupation at this point of the year because as 2024 come to an end, soul searching is a great pastime. I keep the alternance between California and Italy. I'm right now back in Italy, so that's another part of fun. The wine, the food, sort of the same topics of conversation than in Lisbon. And I keep having conversation. We keep talking with Sherry, with Steve, and plenty of other people in my soul searching phase to think about what I want to be next.
I love that. What you want to
And
go ahead.
you know what? The idea of asking AI, who am I, come to a wow. Yes, I didn't think of that yet, but that will be coming soon up.
Yeah,
You do that. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, just a really interesting building on that because I was listening to a podcast called Directionally Correct, which is about analytics, data analytics, and they were talking about, I had a guy on who, I don't remember his name, but he was looking for jobs and he used AI to actually as a career guidance counselor. So he loaded in all this information about himself into a little small language model. And then he would give it job descriptions or job postings. He'd say, like, should I apply for this job? If I do apply for this job, what should I emphasize? And then he would give it feedback, whether or not he got the interview back. But it was a really fascinating thing. Then also it was like, well, how should I modify my resume when I apply? And he trained this little, like, I don't know if he used ChatGPT or what, to give it sort of advice. I thought that was a fascinating use of AI for job search. And that's part of self-discovery. Yeah.
Could we get a couple people to do a show on this series next year? I'm obviously looking for topics for 2025 about how to train an LLM, a large language model, a ChatGPT or a Claude. Would anybody? I'd be willing. We don't usually I don't do how-tos or advice for the audience. You know that. We always do predictions, but if we could predict how you could train your large language model, that would be, think about it, everybody. Okay. I don't need an answer right now. Yeah. Wouldn't that be interesting to talk more about the how-to rather than the just maybe could, would?
There's a really good book called Co-Intelligence that I really recommend that talks about that for just sort of like the lay person on how to do prompts and different ways to think about it.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's develop a couple of topics for end of January, one for February, maybe one for March or April. Okay, I'll be in touch. Okay, let's continue. You all sent me interesting quotes before we get to the predictions. Let's make this really fast so we can get to the predictions, although I'm really enjoying the conversation. So I think we're all almost in the end of the year. Let's just talk mode. Yeah, you think? It's been a long year for so many reasons. Okay, take a breath, Bonnie. Sherry Ann, your quote is a song performed by Elton John, co-written by his partner and co-writer Bernie Taupin, 1983. It was the lead single from the album Too Low for Zero. That's interesting. And it's mainly thought of as a statement of resilience, but here's what Bernie Taupin said. I think people see it as an anthem based on Elton's strong sense of survival in the face of adversity. In fact, it's probably infinitely more interesting than what it initially was written about. If my memory serves me, it was a kiss-off to an old girlfriend. You know, that sort of thing? Don't you worry about me. I'll be perfectly fine. Unlike George Jones's She Thinks I Still Care, where in fact he really did. I really didn't. So that's the backstory. Sorry, Sherry, I thought that was really cool. Here's the quote Sherry picked from the song. I'm still standing, better than I ever did, looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. Oh, Sherry, you are a little kid, even though you're grandma. Go ahead, 2 minutes. Tell us what this means for our topic, HR plus
It's even
AI.
very personal to me, given what I'm going through right now with my own job search. it's just, I think we have to be resilient in these times as things change. We have to adapt. We have to adapt to not refuse AI because it's not going away, but we have to adapt to it and keep standing. So be resilient.
I like that. Be
I love
resilient.
Elton John. So
I'm still standing, and I knew that was a personal quote for you. I recently had I belong to a poetry group at Writer's Digest, and we're right now in the middle of PAD, Poem a Day challenge for the month of November. We do this in November and April. The rest of the year, we just get a Wednesday morning prompt. So I get a prompt every morning from Robert Lee Brewer, a senior editor at Writer's Digest. And we write poems. I write between 3 and 15 poems a day now, and we post them on a website where we comment on each other's poems. It's like a whole community of people who love to write. And Steve, they don't all have to rhyme anymore. But I do haikus, I do acrostics, I do lookups of the theme. Today's theme was the post was lucky was the prompt. I did a research on songs with the word lucky in the title, and I came up with the top 12 and made it into a rhyme, Steve. And I post silly stuff like everybody's doing these really deep, sad poems about their life and misery and all. I'm the class clown. Anyway, no surprise. I have no idea why I told you that. But anyway, yes, Bob Ficken has picked a quote from a song by Radiohead from the album OK Computer, 1997. Bob, that goes back 27 years. Climbing Up the Walls is the name of the album, and the line you picked, or the song, the line you picked is "Open up your skull, I'll be there." Radiohead formed in 1985 in Oxfordshire. I have the line up. I'm not going to read that. Let's just go with the quote. "Open up your skull, I'll be there." Bob, HR, AI, what does this mean?
Well, I think the next evolution of AI is going to continue to get more and more personal. The focus up to now has been what can it do for organizations and institutions and things like that. But over the next few years, AI is going to get more personal, whether it's a device you wear, a pin you wear, or something else. I mean, you're already carrying AI in your phone, and that's going to continue to evolve to where essentially you're going to have AI on your person all the time. And since it learned everything on the internet in 2022, we're going to become pretty dependent on asking it, where did I park? And things like that, that it's going to be able to help us with. So I think as it gets more personal, it's all about open up your skull because I'm coming in whether you want me there or not.
I like that. I think that's what people are afraid of. Oh, I know why I told you about my poetry group. I invited 4 members of the poetry group to be on my Monday Read My Lips creativity show. And I did my opening monologue like I do, Sherry, on these shows with help from ChatGPT, and it was a poem. Well, after the show, I was attacked in public by one of the poets who accused me of being a horrible human being. How dare I, as a poet who writes human poetry, even think of using the word AI in public to relate to how I open my shows? She got people to attack me on YouTube. She told me her friends were disappointed in me as a human, that I had the nerve to do this. And I said, I only write human poetry on the poetry group, but I use ChatGPT as an aggregator of data from my guests' bios. 5 of you, the bios at 300 words a piece is 1,500 words. I don't have the time to sit there and go through all of that. Sylvia, my ChatGPT VA, helps me condense it and put it into a form, and then I can work on the poetry from there. So I was excoriated for using AI by somebody who, Bob, I think they were threatened. They were annoyed, and they challenged my humanity. Steve, any comments on that? Shock and amazement?
I'm just thinking about that. I suspect this is what happened when they first introduced writing, and you had verbal poetry where they passed down through verbal tradition, and then this thing called writing, which is a form of technology. People forget about that. And they said, I can write down that poem that you've told through generation. I'm like, oh my God, if you put it in writing, you're inhuman. I mean, it's stupid.
It is. She and I went back and forth on email for about a week. She wouldn't let it up. I was being stalked. I finally I said, let's just agree to disagree.
No, yeah. I think the issue where you do get into is the plagiarism, I think, is a real issue. That, people not getting credit. And if you write poetry and you're actually drawing probably poetry from somebody else's poems. But in a way, that's what happens anyhow. When somebody writes a poem, is there any poet that has never read poetry?
Is there any musician who's ever written a song who
Yeah.
hasn't heard music? Is there
Yeah,
any
it's
artist
that
artist
whole-
who paints who hasn't
Which,
seen
by the way,
masters?
is on that topic. Ed Sheeran just won this really important lawsuit about this whole thing about people trying to like, I'm going to copyright the chord of C or whatever. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So yeah.
No. Oh
Yeah.
dear. Okay. Thank you, Gabby. I'm up for your quote here. You're quoting Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep. Of course, the movie is The Devil Wears Prada, although she's done so many. 2006 comedy drama film. And comedy drama are the only two genres they hyphenate. Everything else, if it's sci-fi, adventure, animated, drama, war, space opera, it would not be hyphenated. I want to tell you that they bought the rights to the movie. 20th Century Fox bought the rights to a film adaptation of the novel by Lauren Weisberger before it was published, but they wouldn't greenlight the movie until Meryl Streep agreed to play the lead. I thought that was very,
Oh.
very interesting. It was filmed in New York City and Paris. It was the 12th highest grossing film worldwide in 2006. Guess what? The budget was 41 million. They grossed $326 million on a 41 million budget. That's a hot movie. So here's the quote Gabby has selected. I asked for clear, athletic, smiley. She sent me dirty, tired, and paunchy. Oh, Gabby, what in the world? What are we talking
bring it all
about?
back. First of all, Miranda Priestley, icon. I can't believe that movie only cost 41 million to make, and they deserve every penny they got. It was amazing. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. Miranda Priestley and AI would not get along, I think, as I watched that with fresh eyes, because the request that she made in the quote was one of her typical unknowable, unanswerable requests, right? It's subjective. You don't know what she means by tired and paunchy or on the and fresh. You just don't know what she means. She doesn't say what she means. She often says the opposite of what she means. And our protagonist, Andy Sachs, discovers over time how to best work with her. She discovers that her name is supposed to be Emily, and that when Miranda says one thing, she means another, and things that seem impossible need to be delivered in a certain time frame. In the end, maybe I shouldn't give this away, but she perseveres in learning how to work with Miranda. When I think about Miranda and AI and the way that clarity, detail, and sort of exactitude is really important in working with today's AI tools. We know that garbage in brings garbage out. You have to know what you're after in terms of an outcome. I do not think that AI and Miranda could coexist, at least with the tools that we have today. Now, you know they are making a sequel. I'm hoping it doesn't focus around AI because too many things do, but I think it would be interesting to kind of explore that. And so as we just keep in mind, we're talking about predictions. AI is not yet a perfect tool. Cannot anticipate people like Miranda Priestley yet.
Thank you. The way you're describing, be specific, know your prompts, know what your goal is, what your outcome is, you hope, is like working with Miranda is like working with an LLM, right? It's like training a model to understand what you want. I didn't want a picture of a fish. I wanted a picture of a dragon. You know, did you say that? Did you say if it had, what kind of scales it had? Oh, I just thought about that. I like that one. Thank you, Gabby, very much. Sherry Ann, say hello to Luca for us. We're happy he is here. Okay, let's go to.
Add one other thing about
Yes, dear.
AI, just because it just popped into my head, and I think it's something worth mentioning. What worked in the past will not work in the future. There's at some point she says, "Oh, florals for spring, how groundbreaking," or something like that. And so that's another thing when we think about like data over time and what worked in the past, and how do we train an LLM? A lot of it's based on past information that may not work so well in the future.
And the one word quotable from The Graduate is plastics. Okay. Remember, anybody remember that one? Steve did. Okay. I'm not going to embellish on that one. Steve, let's go to your quote. This is from a song by the British girl group Spice Girls. It was their debut single from their self-named album Spice. It's a dance pop song. Lyrics address the value of female friendship over heterosexual relationships. It has become a symbol of female empowerment and their most emblematic girl power philosophy song. I'm sorry, Steve, I had to do that. So the line is, so tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'm not going to sing it. Steve, your guitar is there. Do you want to play that for us, dear?
That's all right. Yeah. And I won't recommend the Spice Girls movie, although if you ever want to see a very odd movie, check that out. The Spice. So I picked that one because it's really getting to the machine learning aspect of AI, which is machine learning, it's pattern recognition based on certain outputs. And so much of what's being done now, especially in HR, and I use staffing as a really good example, it's not actually predicting what we care about, which is post-hire performance. It's all predicting, hey, your resume matches with this job description, but we don't hire people based on being good interviewers or being, having matching resumes. We hire them for what they do after they're hired. And what I think one of the biggest challenges that we have now as we get into AI, and the same thing's happening around skills management and stuff too, is we need better data, going back to Gabby's point. And a lot of the AI vendors in the HR technology space, and I'm not faulting them for this, they are just using AI to analyze the heck out of data that exists, but that actually isn't the data that most companies really need, which is about the business value of employees, things like their performance and their, sales or customer service and all of these things. And so I think one of the big things in HR with AI is we have to get out of our HR technology silo and start extracting data from the actual things that impact profit and loss in a company, which are not engagement and skills. It's what you do with that engagement and skills, to drive results.
Thank you. Interesting. As I'm hearing you speak, Steve, I'm hearing a thread, and the thread is that hiring is a predictive art and science.
It is.
Really is.
Isn't that interesting? The act of hiring, you are predicting, you're placing a bet on what they're going to do for your company based on the data you have from what they did before, if you believe what they told you. Steve?
That's true. And it's also true of compensation. Unless it's in a highly transactional contract job, the reason we give people bonuses and increases is not based on what they did in the past, it's out of a belief of what value they're going to add in the future. It's an investment in future, unless it's an entirely transactional contractual job. So I think in so much of this, one of the biggest things that I think really hurts not just HR, but people in general, is the fact that we do not effectively link the actions and behaviors of people to the actual value they provide. The only place where you see this is places like sales jobs, and even then it's not done well. And so you see all these restructurings, and we'll replace people with AI because companies don't actually know what people do. They just know how much they cost.
Right.
And once a person takes a job, they're not in a silo. They're working with other people. That's a whole. I want to move on to Chiara's quote, but we'll get into the predictions. This is a huge topic. We know that there are so many ways to look at this and so many nuances of how you hire, why you hire, what you expect of a hire. Okay, Bob is nodding. Thank you. Chiara has sent a quote from Dr. Robert Ford, played by the esteemed actor Anthony Hopkins. Westworld, dystopian sci-fi Western TV series on HBO from 2016 to 2022. We're talking about a quote from season 4, episode 8, the finale that aired on August 14th, 2022, not that long ago. The title of the episode was Que Sera, Sera. Chiara, the debut of this series on HBO had the network's highest viewership rating for a premiere since the first episode of a show in 2014 called True Detective. Westworld season 1 is still the most watched first season ever of any HBO original series, and it's about a technologically advanced Wild West themed amusement park populated by android hosts, in quotes, catering to high-paying guests who may indulge their wildest fantasies. Steve, have you been there? Don't tell me. We're in the park without fear of, Steve, you can smile now, without fear of retaliation from the android hosts who are programmed not to hurt people. Later, they let's see, blah, 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 blah. Robert Ford, the one we're talking about, implements a new Reverie update that causes some hosts, including farmer's daughter Dolores Abernathy and local madam, they had a madam, to gain consciousness of memories that have been erased and become sentient. Here's the quote Chiara has picked. The future is built on the choices we make today. Chiara, 2 minutes. What is this doing for our topic? Go ahead.
We are literally building the future every day. And the future is built on the data we choose, on how we want to make prediction based on that data, and on the tool we choose to have. Not to mention all the privacy selections that exist and that will evolve. Yes, it is. I thought it was one of the most fitting quotes I've seen for a long time. And we keep we keep forgetting when we talk about the future of work, the future of now, the future of whatever we may think of it, even the future of our children. Yes, the choices we make for all these situations is what is building the future tomorrow. Today, and how we live it today is built on what happened in our parents' life and the choices that were made at the time. So that's how we're building AI, and how AI perceive us, and what AI is able to give us as a feedback, whether it is being able to, at some point, to understand sarcasm and the humor, which right now is not really there, or being able to feed off some of our quirks and understand them better. I totally agree with what I believe Gabby was saying a moment ago, that yes, it's unfortunately, and I unfortunately, fortunately, it's only based on what has already happened. There is no AI that can predict and share vision of the future. It can only feed and give you feedback on what has already happened. The future and the choices we make is the direction that take us from what AI tell us now to tomorrow.
Thank you, Chiara. It doesn't have the ability to dream, right?
No, that
We-
is purely
Yeah.
human still.
That's what we still own. Thank you all for the quotes. I'm glad we got into the topic discussion, and let's see if we can get one prediction from each of you. Let's make it quick, and of course, part 3 is in your future. So, Sherry Ann, you are going to talk to me about your prediction number 2. Let me read it. You say careers will become increasingly defined by precise skills, including AI, and this can be detrimental to career development if not well managed. Sherry, why don't you give us a warning prediction here? 2 minutes, go.
Really, it's building upon what everyone else has just been saying. We're building AI models based on what historically is in our system, and the data is what the data is, whatever we collected. It's not precise. But the vision that most HR technology companies have now is to really match up skills to the candidate. And when you start doing that, you're defining somebody's capabilities by very, very precise skills, which may or may not predict what you need in the future. It could be what you needed in the past or what was relevant in the past. And it doesn't predict a person's ability to adapt or relate to others or to build independently a business, which is really what you need. You need capable people in most cases to really take charge and be leaders, whether they're leaders or not.
Thank you very much. Any quick comments about what Sherry said around the table? Are we good? Okay. Thank you, Sherry. I'm going to go to Bob. Did somebody raise a hand there? No. Okay. Everybody's good. Bob, you sent some very interesting predictions here. I'm going to read the first 2 or 3 lines from your prediction number 1, and I know you have some subtext to add to it. You say humans will not be needed to program or direct robots. This means HR will not need to hire experts to code or otherwise train robots. Robots can be more easily trained than humans to onboard new hires. I'm going to stop there. Bob, where are you going with this?
Well, as AI becomes more and more sophisticated, the good news is you don't have to know how to write prompts. You can use AI to and ask it how to write the prompt. It'll tell you. You can create your own app using AI without any IT involvement. You can use AI to create a program, anything you want. So the interesting thing to me is what they found out was that robots training other robots was almost 77% more effective than humans trying to program robots. So, I mean, you talk about a utopia, we're talking about robots actually training other robots and all that, and no human involvement at all. So I think what's really kind of interesting is that as AI gets more and more sophisticated, it becomes easier and easier for people without technical expertise to use it. You can create your own, you do whatever you want to do, and if you don't know, AI will tell you how to do it.
So how will this impact HR specifically? The people who are in HR who are just learning about AI now, if that's something that's on their
one of the
schedule.
things that's going to do, and we already know that it's affecting the hiring process. HR teams are using AI to onboard and schedule and create job descriptions and all that. But what this will do, this will change the whole learning and development function. Because if robots can train other robots almost 77% more effectively, they can probably train humans more effectively.
I think there's a movie there, Bob.
Yeah, there's a movie in there.
Instead of HR having to do it or decide or whatever, you'll be able to punch in, your employee relations issues for the last year, and it will tell you what training programs are needed. It will develop the training program, and then AI can deliver it.
I think I want you to write the screenplay for a movie called The CHRO Wears Prada. Gabby's going to help you with that, and I will be.
CHRO?
The CHRO bot wears Prada. There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody have a quick comment on what Bob said before I move on? We're good?
I partially agree with what Bob's saying. I think one of the things is that what about when the AI doesn't do it right? I think we're going to have these incredibly complicated jobs. So let's say you're relying on AI to whatever design, manufacturing and train robots on manufacturing, but something's wrong with the manufacturing and something wrong with the AI. That we know how to work with people when they're wrong, but AI, it reminds me of cars. It used to be that you had a clue on how to fix your car. You could actually listen to your car and be able to tell if something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go to like electric cars in an extreme one, you can't know what's wrong. And if it stops running, you're like, you can't take it to a mechanic. You have to ship it off to some highly complicated person, which, I'm not saying this is a bad or a good thing, but the challenge is increasingly we need people for when machines don't do what we're supposed to. That was what it's like. Somebody described being a pilot once with autopilot. They said, I'm not here for when the plane is working correctly. I'm here for when it's not working correctly.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And that I think is where we always talk about needing a human in the loop, but I think we really need to think about what it is those humans actually need to do in the loop is very different from what they did in the past.
And I wonder if we used to call them bean counters, the CPAs, the finance people and companies who make decisions. And I'm talking to several of us, including myself, who say we don't need you anymore. And we never know what the algorithm was or what the calculation was or what the spreadsheet looked like that said we were no longer worth keeping on because we didn't have enough future bottom line value to the company. But I wonder, let me pose the second part of that, is if AI or a bot, well, whatever, was going to do those calculations, if it would come out more kindly on the side of the humans. Sherry, I'm talking at least about you and me, the humans who have those jobs and have provided value. I wonder if you put side by side the human being counter with the AI analytic algorithm, how we would have landed. I'm just going to let that one sit. Steve, I know you're dying to say something.
Well, I just say if you had data in there that showed the value you had for the business, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. In those spreadsheets companies use for these things, there's nothing about, or very rarely is there a line that says, here's the financial impact this individual is having on the company's profit and loss.
Exactly.
You got your salary and demographics, and that's about it. And maybe your skills.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on. I want to go to Gabby. I just put it in. I should have put it in the chat for you sooner, but it's prediction number 1. Gabby says, autonomous AI agents make the automation augmentation question less straightforward. The future of workflows will not be a question of how AI bots take over work, but how different AI bots communicate and collaborate with each other. HR professionals, we need to build understanding of how these agents work. Gabby, 2 minutes, go.
I was hoping you'd choose this one
I'm
because
glad.
all are kind of circling around this, which is a lot of the talk around this topic right now is the use of AI tools for individuals and how, prompt engineering is a discussion of that. How can we make people more effective when they individually use these tools? But we know that at some point, these AI tools are actually going to seem antiquated because there is a next step. And that next step in the future is autonomous AI agents. It's not even very far into the future. I've seen both SAP and Microsoft coming out with these autonomous AI agents as a service. So, this is a 2025 thing. It's coming now. And so what this looks like is Instead of somebody using an AI tool to complete a workflow, it's connections between workflows. It's automation from an end-to-end perspective. What that means is that the human in the loop starts to look a little bit different. What is their role? How do they kind of oversee? How do they determine when something's gone wrong? And so this is a huge question then of what is a person's role in an organization? How do they work alongside these tools? If HR doesn't understand that, then how are we going to evaluate that and determine what good performance looks like, how we should be compensating these roles? So I think that is a huge opportunity also to think about it strategically from the standpoint of if your strategy really relates to how individuals use AI tools, you're maybe missing or going to be behind once these autonomous AI agents become more mainstream.
Very interesting. Any comments from anybody around the table? Okay, I'm going to move on. Steve, I already put your prediction in. This is a short and sweet one. You say companies will increasingly accept and expect candidates to use AI tools to pass job screening tests. Oh, Steve, tell us.
Yeah, I mean, on this one, it's interesting that as we're looking, we used to test people based on like how sometimes putting them in like a locked room, right, and say, what's in your head? But now that's not how people work at all. We would, like, if you hired some person and they didn't take advantage of the internet to solve problems, we'd be like, you're a fool. Why aren't you doing this? And I think as we're realizing that Gabby will appreciate, there's a phrase called crystallized knowledge, which is basically knowledge of facts and information, which is a form of intelligence. That's becoming like so commoditized that anyone has access to it. So what we're really going to be looking for is people that can access knowledge really quickly in the right way and effectively to do it. So it requires a whole new way of defining what do we want people to do and what competence. And I use this example. I mean, increasingly with doctors, they have access to every bit of medical information we have through an AI, and it can make recommendations and chatbots. Okay, what do you want that human doctor to do? Do you want a machine to take care of you? And I think most people will be like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. Well, then the question is, do you want to go with the doctor's advice or the internet's advice? And what's the difference between a machine and a person? I think what people say is the person knows me, and AI can't know a person. It can only know what a person tells them about it, right? Whereas opposed to if you meet a person and they know your family relationships, they know other things, they have some sense of who you are. I think we are a long way away from AI's ability to interact with a person for 10 minutes in a conversation and know them at the level that a person can.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. That human ability to understand, to empathize, to hear, to listen.
And it's really rethinking that idea. I always hear companies say we have humans in the loop. It's like we need to define why. Yes. Why do we need humans in the loop? And we need to be a lot more specific on focusing exactly what it is we want those humans to be doing. And where to be honest, I'm really nervous about this whole thing is interesting. In the history of work, technology has never enabled people to not work. It eliminates jobs and kicks them out on the street and says, but there's no, oh, hey, we're more productive, because it also concentrates wealth. The technology enables concentration of wealth. If you look at the Gilded Age, the Industrial Revolution, whenever. And so we are like, technology is going to kick people out on the street. But historically, we're not going to like say, hey, we're wealthier as a society, so you don't have to work anymore. Okay. But the society, the things we need to do, historically, we devalue those. We don't value human skills like empathy, in a systemic way. And I really do get very nervous about this whole thing. That's probably my biggest concern is we're going to see a huge disparity in haves and have-nots.
We're going to have to address that on another show because I need to get Chiara's prediction in here. To be fair, she's waiting patiently. Chiara, prediction number one you sent me. This is interesting. And you've got 2.5 minutes. Within a short time, Chiara says, we'll see a focus not on the resume screening, but rather on the way individuals will find valuable interaction. More and more, mid-level and C-level hiring relies on relationship building and networking. Oh, that's a human thought. I think AI help here might facilitate valuable networking out of the organization, creating a better job fluidity, or at least that's what I hope for. Chiara, 2.5 minutes. You're up. Go.
I think we can. I see the failing of the pure skill to job description, clear and simple compare, and the rise of what is the human interaction. And to some extent, I reattach to what Sherry was saying earlier. It's the human delivery of a job is a lot more based on what the human can do and how he or she or they will fit into that description. It's not based on a job description that can be sourced from ChatGPT or sourced from an old catalog. It's a lot more than that. Already today, we see people finding jobs based on the connection they have. My nephew is right now looking for an internship. But looking for an internship nowadays, you can swim in thousands of proposals. But what you need to do, in fact, is reach out to the few people who know people and try to swim in that way. And that bypasses completely the whole AI thing. Beyond that, what I hope that AI will support us into is how we can network outside of our organization in a more effective way. One additional thought I had right now when Steve was talking about the human in the loop, something that has been bugging me is, how the heck are we going to train the human in the loop if we eliminate more and more of the actual activities that get devolved to the AI? To go with the plane example, if our pilots don't fly the plane anymore, how will they learn to pick up when something goes wrong? If our surgeons rely on AI to operate, how will the super surgeon be able to jump in and help the AI? They will be helpless.
Well,
so we need to figure out how that interaction works.
Well put. And I will tell you, I have a relative who owns their own 6-seater jet plane, and they have to go through an update in flight training every year. And in that flight training, they are put through every possible disaster that could happen in the plane, literally. And they have to, as the human, overcome, figure out a way around, use the instrumentation, and get it done. It's scary as you know what. I won't use that word. And they are being trained, and this is in small planes. So I'm only hoping that the big planes have the same type of training. And if AI is involved, Chiara, that it's only as a helper to figure out how to give them that training. And I'll make one more comment to all of you. I remember the day when I worked for a company, I will not name it online here on air, where the vice president controlled everything in it was a correspondent bank, commercial back-end bank. And she decided that I would never get a review from the HR department for 5 years of my employment there. She trashed my reviews, and I didn't get a raise or a review in 5 years because she just didn't like me. But she used me very well. My work was redlined every day with a red line when I came up for work, came the next morning. She had redlined everything on my desk. I was given jobs that were way past what I was being paid at high levels in the company and expected to deliver on a very, very high level. It was an interesting thing. So my question is, if AI had been involved back in the 80s in something like this, would AI have played by better rules that were in the charter of the company on how you deal with your employees? Because they were entitled to an annual review, right? They were entitled to something. And I was threatened the first day I came, you will never get a raise as long as you work for this company. I will never give you a raise. You're just going to be here working your you-know-what's off. And that was it. The company eventually was shut down by the New York State Banking Department, and I'm hoping it had to do with her. But anyway, the point is, I wonder if AI would have an oversight capability today where it could say, this is what you need to do to treat your employees humanly. And I'm going to run HR better. I'm just going to close with that. Everybody, don't go away. We have to talk after. We have some scheduling to do. But everybody, raise your hand, and we're going to say no, no, no. We have 1 minute left on the count of 3. People say the future is already here. Come on, Steve, raise that finger. We're getting ready for no, no, no. Sherry, let's do it. If Luca has a finger up, that's fine. If people say the future is already here, and we say, well, almost, maybe, sort of, but 1, 2, 3, no, no, no. No, no, no. I'm not getting much support here. Come on. No, no, no.
No, no, no.
Chiara came through from me. Thank you, dear. Thank you. And by the way, Fosca Innocenti is an incredible Italian detective show, and I'm waiting for season 2 or 3. And I want you all to know I'll be back next week, and we're doing the future of the circular economy in automotive. You've got to hear that show. Bonnie D signing off. Bye, everybody. Don't go away. Jordan, are we out?